Hello, Flosstube. Welcome back to Stitch and Crime. This is Stasha, and I do not like the angle of the camera, so hold on a second. No, still don't like that. That's better. Okay, so yeah, it is not the first Sunday in August, but reasons. One, there was the Olympics. Second, Kouri Richins was scheduled to have her first hearing with her new attorneys the first week of August, and I kind of wanted to get that down. And there were the Olympics. And when the Olympics are on, okay, we don't do sports ball in my house. We seriously do not do sports in my house. I mean, until the Overwatch League disbanded, the team in our house was the Houston Outlaws. But now the Outlaws have disbanded and the Overwatch League is no more. But Stars Reach is coming out, and if you have not signed up for Stars Reach yet, go check it out. Details will be down below. But let's talk stitching. Before we talk stitching, let's talk Olympics. The shirt today is my champion shirt because this old lady got a gold medal in the corporate games playing kickball, and I still can't walk. I had so much fun playing kickball. We had to have a co-ed team, which meant they were really desperate to get all the women to play, and most of the women were like, no, I don't play, I'm not that good, I can't do it. So this old lady signed up, and I had a blast. And our gold medal match was against a bunch of 20-year-olds. Okay, we're fintech. That means we're not kids. We tend to be a little bit on the older side. We're not boomers, but most of us are Gen X. Anyway, we had to play the gold medal match. We had to play the team twice because they had won all of their games until they met up with us, and then you have to have 2 loses in order to drop down. And we lost our first game mainly because the ref had no idea what the rules were. And funny, all the stuff we did in the first game that was called foul was fine. So anyway, we lost the first game and then won all of our other games so that we got the gold medal. The last team that we played, that bunch of kids, the last game that we played where we had beaten them once, we had to beat them a second time to knock them out. Kickball in the corporate games in Salt Lake is only 5 innings. We went 10 innings because we were tied, and they couldn't just do like a kickoff or anything. So we beat them in the 10th inning. So I have a gold medal and I can't walk. But let's get back to stitching. By the way, if you have not seen the Turkish pistol shooter, he's a meme right now. Go back and watch his match. That was good. And I was very sad to see the American get knocked out of dressage because his horse got spooked passing another horse and it injured itself. But hopefully we'll see him in Los Angeles. So, back to stitching. Stats for July. July recap. Let's start with the July recap. I hit 12,082 stitches, and I am still not thrilled with that angle. Okay, I hit 12,082 stitches in July. That's an average of 390 stitches a day. The median was 389, and my max day was 732. My minimum day was 55, and I touched 13 projects. I can't show you my Lord of the Rings, my Lord of the Rings Another Reindeer, because that's currently halfway framed. I'm framing it myself. Yes, thank you. Storied Steeds. I put 1900 stitches in on Storied Steeds, and our octahorse needs hooves, but I've been doing, the top is getting ready to be filled in there. But most of the octahorse is done. Oh, you probably want to see it. There. Now you can see the octahorse without a red thread running through his face. I was thinking about doing some back stitching on this, just because I know that I will hate this once I start just doing back stitching alone. But I needed stitches, so I started doing the fill-in. But we put 1902 stitches in on Storied Steeds, which is 15.7% of the month. And that Lord of the Rings was my top piece for the month, with 1,847 stitches, which finished it. No, actually, Storied Steeds was number 1. Lord of the Rings was number 2. Number 3 was Alice. Here's Alice. Alice is sideways. There is Alice. You can see the Cheshire Cat. This is the Bothy Threads Alice, done on Under the Seas Fabrics Fiery Skies. And if you're wondering why on earth there is a counting pin stuck in there, there is a mistake in this row. And I was not about to start spending time looking for it when I was like, I've done my 1,000 stitches. I am so done. I am learning that about 1,000 stitches is all I can put in a piece before it's like, I'm done. I need another piece. I need a break. So I did manage to put 1,261 stitches in Alice, which is 10.4% of my month. And the next time I pick up Alice, I'll try and figure out what I did. But I know that everything above the counting pin is correct. So somewhere below here is what's messed up. Okay, then next was class schedule, where we finished arithmancy. I'm getting a Nerge hoop line in there, but that's because it sat for a long time. Normally I don't get hoop lines from Nerges, but I put it up for a while after I finished for a while to work on other things. So here's arithmancy. It's all finished. And I started working on Care of Magical Creatures. I did decide to go with the original Buckbeak instead of adding the alternate Phoenix. But I am probably going to add the Fuzzy Book from Care of Magical Creatures. So, anyway, 3 months left. So, there is class schedule. And then next was Frightmare House, which is all finished. Look, Frightmare House is all finished. I need to cut it apart and put it together. So the spacing should look like this side, not this side, because I didn't read the instructions. I just followed the graph. So I will have to do something tricky to do the cutting there. I'm thinking interfacing, and then somebody suggested a nun stitch instead of just the back stitching there. If I added a nun stitch, that might help with cutting in between. Okay, next up is Ladybird. I put 1,050 stitches in on Ladybird. By the way, this is, I believe it's an American Dream or American Heritage frame. So, yes, there's a counting pin in there because I am off a row somewhere between that triangular orange shape and the bottom skirt. So this is Ladybird Fairy is a Joan Elliott piece, and the original has red ladybugs, but as you can see, I'm doing orange ones because in Japan they have orange ladybugs, and I'm modifying the lady to be more oriental. So next time I actually pick this up, I will need to try and figure out where the mistake is. Is it above or below? But it is somewhere around that counting pin, because there's a row missing there. I put in 1050 stitches in Ladybird. Then I started my Stitchery Express Mirabilia Challenge. And I started Lilac on Monet's Meadow. So this is where I am on Lilac right now. In July I had 818 stitches in it. I think I've probably put another 800 in since the end of July. But this is my Mirabilia for the Stitchery Express Mirabilia Challenge. And the challenge is still open. It is open through, I think it's the end of December. You just need to start a Mirabilia or Nora Corbett and post on the Stitchery Express Facebook page. If there's more to it than that, I don't know. I don't remember. Okay, I worked on Stitch Every Day. I only put 227 stitches into Stitch Every Day. I believe I added the trees. I worked on the trees. So there is Stitch Every Day. And I finished the first square of Jack Frost's Tree Farm, but I am not thrilled with my choice of white. I don't know what I'm going to do about that, because you cannot see the white. It just disappears. And even in pictures, you cannot, I just don't see the white. So I don't know what I'm going to do. It is over 1, and somebody has suggested maybe using blending filament, use an 032 blending filament instead of a floss and see how that works. That is a possibility. Okay, next up is Carousel. This is Teresa Wentzler's Carousel, and I put 640 stitches in that. That was to finish the June Whip Go square. And I am at the point that I could start putting a pole in and start going down to the horses. But I may work on that. I may work on the top of the carousel just a little bit more. But there is 640 new stitches in there. And for a Teresa Wentzler, this one's actually going pretty fast when I work on it. And yes, I finished July still having not finished 1,000 stitches on Summer Carousel Horse. So then I also worked on my Shepherd's Bush sampler. This is the second set of 4. I finished Bethlehem Slept and started working on the Mary and Joseph. And then there are 2 more. There were 8 pieces in the Just Cross Stitch series, and I've been doing them on, I started doing them just 4. Okay, I thought there were just 4. So I started doing them on 1 piece of fabric, but it turned out not large enough to fit all 8, so I had to get a second piece of fabric. So now I'm doing 2 pieces of fabric, and we'll see how I frame them. Okay, and then the last piece is I did 115 stitches on Secret Carousel. And I will admit it has been a lot easier working on this one in hand. And I don't think I have a line in there. Maybe I do have a line in there. If you can see a line in there, will you tell me in the comments? But I have found so many mistakes in this. But I know that once it's framed and under glass, people aren't going to see it, especially considering the size. So, but I need to be putting 1,000 stitches a month in this one to hit my goal. But I did a whole grand total of 115 because I fell in love with lilac, and all I want to do is work on lilac. Okay. See, and then there's the mouse that goes with Frightener House. And then we finished July's Shepherd's Bush, A Year in Stitches. So those were the finishes. And then I also finished the Lord of the Rings that. So, the July goals. I finished the two WIPGO squares. I finished Alice in Wonderland and I finished Ladybird. They each got over 1,000 stitches in them. I also finished up the 640 stitches that I was needed to finish up Carousel for the June WIPGO that I hadn't finished. I still am short 100 stitches on Summer Carousel Horse. So that's the August goal. So August goals, finish up the 1,000 stitches on Summer Carousel Horse. It's only 100 stitches. And then the two pieces that got called for WIPGO were Kingdom of Books, and I will confess, it's August 15th. I have already stitched my 1,000 stitches on that. So to finish the goal for this month, because I forgot to take the picture with the code word for Bappening, I will probably end up doing 2,000 stitches on this, or at least 1,500, because I had already put 545 stitches into it before I realized I had forgotten to take the picture with the code word. So the goal right now is to finish up the shelf here, finish up this brown book, and start the red book. The goal for 2024 on this piece is to finish this page. So once I get this page done, I will get to move the Q-snaps and start on the next page, which means I will have to dump this page out of Pattern Keeper and put the next page in. So anyway, August goal on Kingdom of Books. And then the other piece that came up in WIPGO is Queen of the Needle. And so that's upside down. So, yeah, okay, so that's where the mouse came from. And the Queen of the Needle mouse is finished. She has been living in this nice milk glass bowl in a cupboard, waiting for her cube to be finished. So I've already done 2 pieces of her cube. And look, again, too close together. I will have to make sure I do the next pieces further apart. But I did start on either the top or the bottom square. I forget what. No, I don't remember what this fabric is. I really don't remember what this fabric is. But I thought this would be cute for Queen of the Needle. So we will be putting 1,000 stitches in this, which will probably finish the top and the bottom piece. And then I will still need to do the other 2 sides. So speaking of mice, Just Nan mice have this nice little bottom. I have had some ideas for doing my own Just Nan mice. So basically they would be my own mice, but based on the Just Nan pattern. However, and I found ornament hooks that I can use for tails. But I've been looking for mouse butts, because when you order a Just Nan mouse, it comes with all of the embellishments and that. But I was thinking it would be so cute to do like a strawberry mouse or a blueberry mouse or a posy mouse. So I've had some ideas for doing my own mice. Stasha, dear, you have lots of ideas. Have we seen one come to fruition? Have we seen the pillowcase that you talked about back in October? Have we seen a black work pattern yet? Have we seen... Yeah. Anyway, I went looking for mouse butts the other day. And I went to... wasn't Bead Fairy. Anyway, there's a bead shop on State Street by Burlington Coat Factory, across the parking lot from Jared Jewelers. They have mouse butts. And if these mouse butts are too small, then I've got these that I can make into mouse butts. So I found mouse butts. Okay, other things I found this month. I found a really nice filament that I sent down to Light, and they have printed me more of my floss drops, because I have two styles. I have this style and I have this style, because I ran out. And you're like, Stasha, you haven't kitted up any new projects. Oh yeah, I have. I just haven't started them. So yes, I have lots of floss drops now. And even then, I don't think this is going to be enough. Which is why, during Amazon Prime Days, I bought 4 rolls of 3D printing filament and sent them down to Light. It was so nice to have it just delivered to Light. So, I have 4 shaped this way. Okay, so that's what Light did for me. And then several years ago, my husband decided that I needed handmade floss scissors. There is a company in England that still makes handmade scissors and shears. So I have a pair of Ernest Wright embroidery scissors. These are 4-inch print embroidery scissors. They are made in Sheffield, England. They are just beautiful. Absolutely lovely. Wonderfully, wonderfully sharpened. And I thought that was the perfect needle minder to put on them. My husband ordered a pair for me and a pair for my daughter-in-law. And it came with a note from the High Mayor of Sheffield, thanking us for supporting local craft. So that was my big haul. That is my Christmas present. He ordered them 2 years ago and it came this month. Which, hey, they're handmade. You expect things to take time. But my Just Nan dealer called me and said, hey, do you need a copy of Magical? I'm like, of course I need a copy of Magical. So this is the special edition 2024 Just Nan Magical. There is the Magical design and the Magical scissor pin keep cute. So I will be kitting that up shortly because I have floss drops. So I will most likely kit this one up in silk because just Nan and silk go together. Other things that came, the Fabulous House series number 8, The Lighthouse, arrived. And of course the classic colorworks that came with it. On Friday night, fight night with Bestitched Me, I fell in love with Lunar. I don't remember now though. I know when I got it, it's like, oh my gosh, that's the perfect fabric for, and I can't remember now what it was I was going to buy with it. So if anybody remembers what I've talked about in the last several months that would look wonderful on Lunar, please remind me. Oh, by the way, at the bead shop where I found the mouse butts, I also found, heart beads. The name of the shop is called Heart Beads. So I found Delicas, and I got a little bit larger ones, to be the spots on my ladybirds. Because I am not doing however many French knots those ladybirds need. I am putting in beads. No, we are not doing French knots. Okay, and then I got surprise mail because I did not order this, but it turns out that my friend Jen from Stitching Sirens was at another retreat and saw this, and she knew that I had the carousel horse in my house and knew that I was collecting carousel patterns and that I was stitching carousel patterns, and she saw this and she's like, I knew you would probably want just those little ones, the little heads, for stitching around your carousel. And there's this little one and these ones. And I'm thinking, you know, I could have some fun with some color changes on those. I could make them match my carousel horse. So, and the A&G Needle Pointers magazine came, and I have not even opened it yet. So we'll open it right here with you. This time I'll remember not to show my address to you. Anyway, I love this design on the cover. I'm thinking that would be so fun to stitch, but maybe in purples instead of blues. Do it in purple and green. I'd probably still keep the whites, but can you imagine these in purple and green? There's the back cover. And if we do a flip through, Stitching Carly and Dedication. Book review, A Life in Stitches. All about knitting. Then there are quilts. Thoughts from a Far Country. And it's actually showing needlepoint patterns that are based on quilt blocks and quilts. A Tale of Two Stitchers, The Boating Girls, where two people can work on the exact same canvas and have very different results. I love how one has a carrot and the other has donuts. But then it talks about what they did to make them different. Some suggestions for creative open borders. More pictures of the borders, things you can do to do open borders. I have had some really fun, a lot of fun with some open borders. You can't, it's out of frame. But I did 2 storks and did an open border with Accentuate, which is a really interesting thread to work with. Timeless Treasures from the Archives. Just some basic background stitches. Here's the Tealicious pattern from the beginning. Oh, Tealicious. Here they are highlighting teal, and I'm going, oh, let me change those teals to purples and greens. But hey, isn't that what you do? You take a pattern, you make it your own. Patriot's Heart. You know, I am looking forward to retirement because I'll have more time to stitch. And I have got more stuff to stitch than my entire lifetime. We have an article to the lowly threader, and I have this kind, and this kind, and this kind, and this kind, and I've never even seen this kind. I don't think I've used that kind. So, Silk Road Fibers Thread Reveal. 3 new color palettes and suggestions for what you can do with them. Those are straw silk, by the way. Highlight on the Oklahoma City chapter of ANG. So this would be the American Needlepoint Guild. So the Oklahoma City chapter. And then we just have ads. Okay. So that's the ANG magazine. We still have haul. This is the Under the Sea Fabrics Christmas in July package, which I have torn the top off, but I have not actually pulled everything out of here because I knew you wanted me to do this with you. You were waiting for me to open this with you so you could see everything that was in here, so that you could call Leslie and say, Leslie, I saw Stasha open it and I want stuff. So we now have an empty bag, and we have threads. All of the pieces in Christmas in July use the same threads. Everybody used the same color palette. So we have these threads, and we have threads and beads, and a needle. So we've got Treasure Braid. Looks like copper and blue. We have Lady Dot Creates Mossy. Lady Dot Creates Polar Ice. Lady Dot Creates Coraline Zigzag. Whip It Up. I'm pretty sure this is an Ort container, kind of like the one I got in my bag of Stitching Sirens. That was so cool. Yep, this is a Whip It Up Ort container. So this will probably go in my travel box so that I have an Ort container when I travel. So, Counting Puddles, Turtle Tidings Ornament. It is 56 wide by 59 high. It is suggested for 28 count linen flurries or poinsettia pot. So there it is. There's that. Counting Puddles, by the way, is going to be the designer at Crazy Woman in Wyoming, which is only 2 or 3 weeks away, and I don't have any smalls done, so I will probably not be doing the smalls exchange, but I will be doing the bag exchange. Okay, From the Heart Needle Art by Wendy. She was the designer last year at Crazy Woman. So we have Good holiday ornaments. Good Yule. Good holiday. Oh, home for the holiday. Then we have Screen Door Needleworks with Winter Window. It's kind of cute. Dirty Annie with Prancer. Dirty Annie is becoming one of my favorite designers lately. I still I have multiple patterns of hers. I have not stitched one yet, but I'm really liking her stuff. Meridian Designs, Hush of Winter. Oh, look. There's where that comes in. See right there around it? What was on Dancer too? On Prancer too. The outer edge. And this was right here. Oh, look, there's the Mossy. Lucy Bean Love and Stitches, Merry Xmas. I'm sure these are available from Under the Sea Fabrics. Odd and Familiar's Stompy the Yule Goat. If you know the designers behind Odd and Familiar, there is a joke there. So there is Stompy the Yule Goat. Ardith Designs Winter Moose. Who probably is going to have a battle with Stompy the goat and lose. And then, oh, there are more than one fabrics. Yes, you wanted to hear the crinkle, right? So we have 28 count flurries and 28 count poinsettia pot. Flurries and poinsettia pot. You could use either one for Stompy the Goat. See, and County Puddles did hers on both too. So, the fabrics. Oh, and finishing fabrics. So if you've ever been to Under the Sea Fabrics, they have a quilt shop across the street from them. So when I go down to Stitching Sirens in June, I always make sure to hit the quilt shop as well. And I always come home with quilt stuff that I still haven't even opened yet. So we have this one, and this one, and this one. So it really is Christmas in a box. You have your finishing fabrics, you have your stitching fabrics, you have your flosses, you have your specialty stuff. And we have Festive Yuletide Topiary from Bella Filipina. Quirky Quaker gave us a partridge. Bella Filipina's Christmas box, winter holiday wreath. And the final one, Christmas Countdown 25 from Jan Hicks Creates. So folks, that is the Under the Sea box, the Christmas box the Christmas in July box. And I'm going to put these fabrics back in the plastic. Maybe. If I can. Okay, so the question is, do I put all of these in one project bag, or do I put them in lots of project bags? At the moment, I'm leaning towards putting everything in one project bag, because you can do all of this in 2 fabrics. Space them right, and they should all be able to be available on the 2 fabrics. So, and there's all the flosses. The flosses from M Studio. So cool. And specialties. Okay, so that is stitching. Shall we go to crime? So, don't like that. It just kind of feels like it's angled today. So, come on. We're going to talk about crime now. So, those of you who don't want to talk about crime, bye, have fun. This is Stasha. Had fun stitching with you. If you have any comments, any questions, anything you'd like to guess, anything you'd like to tell me, comments are down below. Do the YouTubey things. So, like, subscribe, that sort of stuff. Anyway, remember Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt, the one who they were torturing Ruby's kids, and the young man escaped and got to the neighbors. And we saw footage of when the FOIA documents were released and all the footage was released, we saw footage of the paramedics actually getting sick from just how horrible his legs were. Utah doesn't do flat sentencing. We do variable sentencing. So based on your behavior in prison is based on how long your sentence is. And generally, your first parole hearing is within 6 months. Jodi and Ruby are not getting a parole hearing within the first 6 months. They pled guilty in December. They were sentenced in January. So, being sentenced in January, their first parole hearing, no, they were sentenced in February. And their first parole hearing was supposed to be in August? No. Sorry, ladies. First parole hearing is scheduled for December of 2026. So they were arrested this time last year. So they have been sitting in prison. Well, they've been sitting in the Purgatory Correctional Facility since the end of August, beginning of September of 2023. Their first parole hearing is December of 2026. So it is guaranteed that even with the time served before the sentencing, they are guaranteed a minimum of 3 years in jail. And I know that anybody who has followed this case and seen what both Jodi and Ruby did to those kids, I mean, forcing a 7-year-old to jump into a cactus in bare feet. No, this is not healthy. They were starving the kids. And it's going to be at least 3 years in jail before the parole board even looks at them. They are also ordered to attend cognitive behavioral therapy, which I'm sure Jodi's going to love because Jodi is a therapist and thinks she's perfect. So in my opinion. So anyway, along with cognitive behavioral therapy, the other thing they needed to do was, okay, once they have their hearing in December, it takes 2 to 4 weeks for the board to make a decision. So January of 2027 is probably when they'll hear when they either get paroled or go before the parole board again. Both Ruby and Jodi need to attend cognitive behavioral therapy and have a complete mental health evaluation before the hearing. So if you'll remember, one of the things that the judge complained about at Jodi's sentencing was she had not cooperated with the mental health evaluation. So Jodi, dear, if you want to get out of jail, you're gonna have to go see a mental health professional who knows more than you do. So that's what's going on with Jodi and Ruby, and we're not going to talk about them or hear from them until December of 2026. So we're going to have at least 2 more years, well, 2.5 years, without talking about Ruby and Jodi. And honestly, I really hope the parole board insists that they both stay in jail until the kids are 21. Because their sentence is 4 to 30 years. I know people are saying, oh, no, it's 4 to 60. No, Utah has a cap on misdemeanors at, the type of crime that they pled guilty to has a cap on combined sentences of 30 years. So here's hoping they spend the whole 30. Kouri Richins. Kouri Richins is our dear lady in Summit County who thinks that she is bigger news than Gwyneth Paltrow because she wanted her trial moved to Salt Lake because they can't seat a jury that will fairly try me. And if you'll remember, Sky Lazaro, her defense attorney, quit after asking that the main prosecutor and the entire prosecutorial team be removed because she felt they weren't playing by the rules. Mind you, I don't think she was playing by the rules either with some of the timing stunts that she pulled, such as originally agreeing to the preliminary trial parameters and then going, no, we're not going to allow the officers to testify on evidence that they heard. You need to bring the witnesses in. Okay, generally, it is perfectly acceptable to have the police officers testify to what is on the videotape of the interrogation. No, she wants to be able to interrogate witnesses during the pretrial hearing. Usually you wait for the trial to do that. But then, after filing all those motions, Sky quit. Yeah, it turns out that after they charged Kouri with 9 different financial crimes, she doesn't really have the money to pay Sky. Although Sky's petition for removal states irreconcilable differences or something to that effect, basically that it would be unethical for her or her firm to continue to represent Kouri. So Kouri now has a public defender. And they had Kouri's new public defenders had their first hearing with the judge. And the judges all, look, I know you weren't the ones that filed these motions, but we have to, do you wish to withdraw these motions or can I just go ahead and rule on them? They're like, yeah, we inherited them, go ahead and rule on them. And so he went ahead and ruled on them, and no, the prosecutorial team is not going to be removed. no, the evidence is not going to be thrown out because, for one thing, the prosecutorial team could show that no, they weren't listening to Kouri's phone calls with her attorney, even though her attorney would not follow the rules and the calls were getting recorded because Sky was one of the attorneys, Ramsey was one of the other attorneys. Ramsey would not download the software that would tell the prison system, hey, I'm an attorney, you should not be recording this phone call, because he thought it was spying on his phone. So he would not download the software. So his calls with Kouri were being recorded. And the prosecutorial team said, we're not listening to those calls. And Sky was saying, yes, you have been listening to those calls because you have information that Kouri and I talked about in those calls. And the only way you could have gotten that was by listening to the calls. And as part of their rebuttal to that motion, no, it wasn't Kouri's calls with Sky and Ramsey that they were listening to. No, after Kouri got done talking to their lawyers, she would call her mom, and knowing it was a recorded phone call, she would then talk with her mom about everything she had just talked to her attorney about. So all this privileged information that she was sharing with her attorney, she also shared with her mom, which makes it not privileged anymore. So I don't know if she poisoned her husband or not, but she is not a smart cookie. Anyway, that was the motion hearing that was earlier this month, where the judge ruled no, the prosecution team is not going to be removed. No, they haven't listened to the attorney-client calls. And you could see Kouri's defense team just going. And hopefully they have had a chat with Kouri about, you don't talk about defense strategy with your mom because it's being recorded. If your mom wants to hear about it, she can come to our office. We'll talk about it there. So anyway, Kouri Richins has an evidence hearing on August 27th. And this is the one where Sky had said, no, we're not going to let the officers testify to what they learned in interrogation. We want the people to come. But if I understood correctly what is happening, the new defense people were like, no, it's okay. We'll let the officers talk about what they learned in interrogation. We'll let them use hearsay for the preliminary evidence, but they better not use it for the trial. Hearsay, by the way, is when you tell what somebody else told you, either an interrogation or something. So in order for that information that you were told to be admitted into evidence, the person either has to come tell it to the court themselves, or if they are deceased, in some cases you can play recordings of them. But generally it is preferred that they come to the court themselves because the defendant has a right to interrogate anyone who is testifying against them. So if you are going to introduce evidence that was told by people who said it, have to come to court. So Chad Daybell, I know we're done. He got the death sentence. Chad I actually stumbled upon this. I did not know that this was scheduled. I was just looking for something to listen to as background noise, and I came across the appeals attorney's evidentiary hearing on Chad Daybell's case. Now, Chad only he's got two deadlines. He has 42 days and 90 days for some of his appeals because that's the law in Idaho. So his attorneys had met the 42-day they had met the 42-day deadline and filed some of the appeals, and they're like, but we need more time. We need more time than the 90 days because we still haven't reviewed all of the transcript of the trial. After all, the trial was 2 months long, started in April, ended in June. We've got started April Fool's Day and ended the end of June. Well, no, middle of June. So they're like, we have so much to go through in order to determine specific points on inadequate counsel defense. And the judge is like, guys, you filed a 214, it was either 214 or 241. You have filed an over 200-page appeal, and you feel that you still don't have enough time? Law says 90 days. So they were arguing for additional time, and the judge said that he would post a ruling later, and I don't remember what he ruled. So also, the Daybell house is under contract to be sold. Emma has been evicted, or at least moved out. Rumor is that she was evicted. Rumor is that she was served eviction papers within 24 hours of her dad being convicted. But the house has been sold, and there were 2 offers on the house. So according to Reddit, so who knows how accurate this is, there was one offer that was going to turn it into an Airbnb for murder junkies and basically call it the murder Airbnb. I don't think we can say that word on Flosstube, on YouTube altogether. So anyway, they were looking at doing the Red Rum Airbnb. And somebody heard about that and said, oh no. We are not going to have that in Sugar City. We are not going to have that in Rexburg. And they have put in an offer which has been accepted, but they have not closed on the property. And people were really concerned about what are they going to do with the property? What are they going to do with the property? So the people who currently have a bid in on the house have said that they would like to turn it into a park. And they would like to bulldoze the house and just make a nice open space area, a kind of a memorial park. And they said that they were going to consult with the family members. Well, they haven't even closed on it yet, people. And so the family members are going, wait, nobody's called us? Yeah, I know. They haven't closed on the property yet. They don't own the property yet. Wait until they own the property for them to call you, okay? If you don't want it to be a memorial park, great, whatever. They can bulldoze the place and put up condos. If you guys don't want a memorial park, fine, whatever. They can do whatever they want with it at that point. Frankly, the house is ugly. I would probably bulldoze it anyway if I bought it. There was so much you could do with that. So, and yes, I understand it's out in the middle of nowhere, and but, even if you just sat on the property for a couple years and, tear down the house, let the anthropology classes come see if they can find the rest of Tylee. That is in very poor taste. I am sorry, folks. But it bothers me that we never found all of Tylee. And, there wasn't enough time and money to locate any more of her. So there's a university there. Let it, you can either leave her buried there and let it be a memorial park, or let some anthropology students come see if they can find more. Let the criminology students come do it. It'd be nice if there could be more of her found. Speaking of that, of Tylee and JJ and Tammy, Lori has successfully filed a waiver in Arizona that she does not have to appear at her preliminary motion hearings. She just needs to appear in February when she has her court date. But she did get a waiver to not appear at her pre-trial hearing, so her attorneys will just take care of that for her. Nicholas Alaverdian Rossi, the man who faked his own death, claiming he died of COVID in 2020, but then was found living under the name of Arthur Wright in Scotland, was supposed to have a July 12th hearing, preliminary trial hearing for scheduling and setting dates and everything. But honestly, I cannot find anything to see if that hearing occurred. His Utah County trial has been delayed because he has decided that no, he won't represent himself. He will have a public defender in the Utah County cases. So he now has a Utah County defender. The thing that's interesting is back in New England, he's got a whole bunch of federal charges for financial crimes. He's being tried for SA crimes here in Utah, but apparently there's a whole bunch of federal charges that he has not been charged on. Well, he has been charged but has not been tried on, for like credit card fraud, wire fraud, all sorts of things that he was doing illegally. So we'll see what happens if the feds get him after the Utah trials. So there have been a lot of sealed motions happening with Brian Kohlberger, so not a lot to report there other than the TikTok psychic did lose her case, and now they're just going into the penalty phase. Mia Taylor, the young woman who killed her parents that we talked about last time, haven't heard anything new on her. So, but Ann Lorenzo, the lady who had been working for 2 months as a secretary for Sean Reyes' Attorney General's office and was fired on the day that charges were filed against her, has taken a plea agreement. If you'll remember, she was the lady who went viral on TikTok for going into a steakhouse and tugging on a young woman's skirt, saying, I'm seeing your privates." Okay, one, don't pull on other people's clothes. Second, don't say you're seeing stuff you aren't, because the young woman was wearing both underwear and shorts under the skirt. So there is no way that she saw what she said she saw, because it was covered. And the police agreed it was covered. The video even shows it was covered. So anyway, Ann Lorenzo, who was fired from her job of 2 months at the Attorney General's office, has now taken a plea deal, pleading down from a Class A misdemeanor to a Class B misdemeanor. She gets a sentence in abeyance, which means that basically she's free to go about and live her life as long as she checks in with a parole officer. And for 1 year, she cannot have any other issues. So, no bad behavior. No bad behavior for her for a year. I think this is going to be difficult for her. Having seen that video I saw it on YouTube, not on TikTok, because I don't do TikTok. I work in cybersecurity. I don't do TikTok. So anyway, having seen the video on YouTube of what she did to that girl, yeah, I think she's going to have trouble staying out of trouble for a year. But anyway, the girl who was assaulted also agreed that with the plea in abeyance for her. And then Ann Duy Pham, the man who is the 26-year-old man who is charged with purposely hitting women with his vehicle. I cannot find anything after the additional charges were added for attempted vehicular homicide. I don't know what's going on with him. So I need to do some more research, but there has been like nothing has been in the news at all about him since they added the additional charges in multiple counties. So he's facing 9 charges altogether in multiple counties. However, we do have a new case to talk about. On August 3rd, just a couple miles from my house at one of my favorite hiking trails, the Mount Olympus hiking trail, there was a young man, an 18-year-old man, Naod Welday, who was, and I have no idea if I am pronouncing that correctly. I will actually try Googling and seeing if I can find a pronunciation, because I do not want I have no idea how to pronounce it. Anyway, he and 2 friends were at the hiking trail. Just a little, okay, to hike to the top of Mount Olympus, you get there before dawn. You start your hike before the sun comes up so that you are not hiking all day in the sun. So he and his friends were there at the time you would normally start a hike, and apparently there were some gang members there too. An altercation occurred. Welday and his friends are not affiliated with any gang in any way, shape, or form, according to the Salt Lake City Police, Rossi Rivera, the Salt Lake County Sheriff. Rossi Rivera said that Welday and his friends were not gang affiliated in any way, but these other young men who were gang affiliated, there was an altercation of some sort. Welday and his 2 friends fled to their vehicle, where they were shot. Welday was killed, and his 2 friends were injured, but were able to get to a hospital. And they don't state what condition his friends are in, but they appear to have survived. But Welday was found dead at the trailhead, and they have now arrested a 15-year-old and 20-year-old, both of who are affiliated with the gang. So we will see what happens with that, because the arrest was just announced this week. Welday was found on August 3rd, and August 13th is when the article was updated with the arrests. That one is, like I said, really close to home here. So we will definitely be following that. And that is our crime wrap up for today. And then I know there's a couple of you going, but what about that 12-year-old in Farmington? Not even going there, guys. Absolutely not even going there. After Daybell and Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt, I cannot handle another child. I cannot handle following another child case, which is very sad, because this young man's, I don't know if it's the mother or the stepmother, I haven't done enough research, and his older brother basically were denying this young man food, water, and torturing him. And the school teachers who had him before his mother pulled him out to homeschool, say that he was a brilliant child. He was amazing. He loved science. He was going places. And instead, he's being buried. So I will not be covering that case. If you want to go to East Idaho News and look for 12-year-old starved, you can do that. But I will not be covering that one here. It's more than I can handle at this time. And honestly, I don't want to be disappointed if they don't throw the book at mom and brother. So that is our crime for today. And boy, this went longer than I thought it would. So anyway, guys, remember, a pattern is just a place to start. And be safe, guys. Be safe. Thanks, everyone. This is Stasha wishing you good luck, fun stitching until next month, which hopefully I'll film before I go to Crazy Woman, or I may film with my daughter-in-law in Crazy Woman. We'll see what happens. See you in September.